Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Monday night, April the 7th, here from the Zen Sports Studio. We're happy to have you. For once, we're not going to talk about what you're going to do with the first overall pick. We're going to talk about what you might do in day two of the draft and how the Titans are, what they are telling us based on the pre-draft 30 visits that they are currently conducting. Don't call them top 30 visits because that indicates that there's some kind of ranking in the coaches and the executives and the scouts and the personnel people. And I don't like it when you call them top 30 visits. So instead, we'll talk about the 30 visits that the Titans have currently had or schedule or are scheduled to have as we continue on, as we soldier on with just a little over 2 weeks to go before the NFL draft actually takes place. You also have a new voice of the Titans. If you've been paying attention here, we've told you that Taylor Zarzour is going to be the favorite or was the favorite to land the job, and they did announce him today. So we'll get your feeling on that. We'll get Bert in before the national championship game tonight for a little in case you missed it and work our way through the process. And then we'll have a great college basketball game tonight to talk about on the radio show tomorrow. Before we get started, need you guys to share the broadcast around wherever you're hanging out with us, wherever you're spending your time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet the show in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left. If you're on YouTube or Twitch, hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel while you're there, text the link to a friend, tell a friend to do the same. Share this show around because it's going to be an exciting draft process. We're looking forward to breaking down all the things that happen in the post-draft with you. We'll have rookie minicamp upon us in the not-too-distant future. Hell, if I'm not mistaken, there are a couple of teams with new head coaches that have already started their voluntary or are preparing to start this week, their voluntary workouts even. So football season really never left us, but it feels right around the corner. And the draft, of course, is between us and, a lot of good football discourse. So we'll look forward to that together. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. Hello, lovely to have you. And I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the wonderful people at True Math Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com where your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated at TrueMathFitness.com. By Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer, where they're currently offering you employee pricing right now. You pay what they pay at Two Rivers Ford. Zen Sports, it's not too late to get your wagers in on the national championship game. You can do that using the promo code ATOZTN, and you can even get up to $100 on your no danger first wager at Zen Sports. And Bart Durham Injury Law, because you deserve to be paid if you've been in an accident, automobile, or personal injury. BartDurham.com for more information today. So there's no need to talk about we could still, touch base on just check it in. 1 week to go before the draft, 2 weeks to go before the draft. They still drafting Cam Ward? Yes. The answer is yes, as we move forward through this process. So with the thing that we know, or are almost certain that we know, is happening at the top of the draft, at the very start of the draft, well, there's 7 more picks that the Tennessee Titans have at their disposal that need to be talked about and are critically important to supporting Cam Ward as the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, likely made by the Tennessee Titans. Cole Claxton brings up an interesting question. What's more important, a wide receiver or an edge in the second? And here's a couple of things that I think that we need to Dylan Hardaway says, let's go. Finally made a live video. Been too long, Buck. Hello, Dylan. Welcome back. It's always good to see people. I know you guys got real life stuff going on. I know you guys bounce around all over the place. I know schedules change. But if you've been gone for a while, welcome back. It's always good to see you. If you're new, we always enjoy having more people in this silly little circus tent that we do Sunday through Thursday night at about 7 o'clock. I know it's close to 7:30 today, but I had yoga, so you'll forgive me. Either way, good to see you guys and happy to have you, whether you're returning, whether you're new, whatever the case may be. Going to be a fun draft process for all involved. So with all that to say, the question that Cole posed earlier, what's more important, a wide receiver or edge in the second? Here's a couple of things that I need you guys to remember about this, all right? Because I know that we condition ourselves. Nobody from the football world would condition you this way, but it's an easy assumption to make. drafting based off need. The best organizations, yes, you obviously have needs that you must address. You cannot wait until the 6th or 7th round to draft a wide receiver this year. That was Rand Carthon's situation in the 2 years that he was the general manager. They never drafted a wide receiver before the 6th round. Now, they went out and got DeAndre Hopkins, and they went out and got Calvin Ridley, and those were two obvious needs. But it feels to me that you are address your roster organically with the best player available on your board, almost regardless of position. You can't completely discount position because you can't have like 7 tight ends running around on your active roster or something like that. But you get my point. The idea of what's more important to address in the second. Well, I hate to answer your question with a question, but this is the way that teams will do it, Cole. Who's there? And where did the runs at those various positions start? What wide receivers are left to be drafted in the second? Is the best wide receiver available in the second so much better than the best edge rusher in the second? And how does that player or that pod of players, that group of players that may be available, how does that fit what the Titans want to do? They're building a roster for Cam Moore. And so there are a couple of different things that are going to be taken into account there. But I think that they're messaging something, and maybe, we're still in the smokescreen time of year, so maybe this is a smokescreen. But it does seem to me that they are messaging something about what they plan to do in the second round or what they might be planning to do in the second round that I think you can take from their 30 visits that they're making. 30 visits are the visits that the teams get to host these players at their facility. It's probably the most expansive time that they get to spend with these players, getting to know these guys, understanding how they work, how they operate, how they are conversationally, personality types, their routine, all these different things. And you learn a great deal from the 30 visits. Again, don't call them top 30 visits because they are not ranked that way. And I'll explain more what I mean by that here in just a second. But the question that I want to start with on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is this. What are the Titans telling us with their 30 visits, their pre-draft 30 visits that they're going on right now? Now, A to Z Sports has done a great job of cataloging these things, keeping a running tracker, for lack of a better term, on the website about the pre-draft meeting, the 30 visits, pro days, NFL Combine, virtual visits, local visits, and more that the Tennessee Titans are currently orchestrating. And yes, the names at the top of the board you will very well recognize. There has also been some others that have been reported to that effect that are different than what you might have thought or what you may expect or what you think the Titans' needs are. So we'll dive into this together on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. What are the Titans telling us with the 30 visits that they are currently orchestrating? We'll get into that right after I remind you that your Two Rivers Ford take, which this is presented by the South's most trusted Ford dealer, where they are going above and beyond, where they are offering you employee pricing. You pay what they pay on almost all new Fords at the dealership at Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet. They have always been about quality American-made Ford vehicles. They have always been about award-winning customer service, and they have always been about making the process for you, the car buying process for you, fast, easy, and more fun. And that's something that they continue to deliver on, the standard that they continue to uphold at Two Rivers Ford with the employee pricing going on right now at Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. It is a great time to buy American, and Two Rivers Ford is taking some of the financial uncertainty out of the equation for you. tworiversford.com, where the employee pricing is available for you, for me, for Bert, for everybody in between. So what are the Titans telling us with their 30 visits that they've got thus far? So thus far, you've got Cam Moore, obvious, Abdul Carter, due diligence, Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, due diligence. Then you start to get into the later and different kind of positions group, which are less consensus top of players. Donovan Jackson, the guard / tackle from Ohio State. Caleb Johnson, the running back out of Iowa. These are prospects that, depending on where you look, they may be in the top 30. They may be in the top 40. Caleb Johnson in the top 60 at this point in time. Isaiah Bond, the wide receiver out of Texas, an interesting figure in all of this for the pre-draft process, given the things that he was saying, how fast he was going to run the 40 at the combine, and then ultimately wasn't able to deliver on it. And, he's just trying to manifest these things on top of being a talented player. But, he kind of got caught up in his own air, and that's fine. Femi Oladejo, the edge player out of UCLA, is somebody who has also taken a 30 visit. Charles Grant, an offensive tackle from William and Mary. Terrence Ferguson, tight end from Oregon. Washington State wide receiver Kyle Williams. Cameron Jackson, the defensive lineman out of Florida. And Dante Thornton, the wide receiver out of Tennessee, who is an interesting prospect, certainly a toolsy, traitsy prospect as a former transfer player himself, who was injured during some of his time at Tennessee, but does bring a lot to the table and certainly wowed people with his workout that he did at the combine. They've also had pre-draft visits with Tyler Warren, Shamar Stewart, who's Bert, can I call Shamar Stewart embattled as a prospect because he's so physically impressive and so athletically skilled, but the production for them is it was not nearly what you want it to be.
It was non-existent. It was not very similar to, if you guys remember Jason Alway, his name's Adafe Alway now, 0 sacks in his final year at Penn State, but was an athletic specimen. Went to the combine, looked like he was chiseled out of granite. Shamar Stewart is very much like that. Maybe not chiseled out of granite, but for his size, the agility he possesses, the strength he possesses, it's a very moldable piece of clay. He just never realized that talent at Texas A&M.
And somebody will take a chance on that player, right? And so rare are just completely clean draft evaluations. Like there are so few players who come out of the draft process with a completely clean grade and in the evaluation. Coaches will tell you that all the time. And that's something that we know, right? None of these players are ready when they arrive in the NFL, coming out of the college process. But can you work with them? Are there things that can be molded? It is for Shamar Stewart, for example. Is it something simply as simple as, hey man, I just need you to finish. I just need you to finish on some of these plays. You're right there. You're so talented. You can be an incredible difference maker for our defense, but I just need you to finish. And whichever coaching staff can get that out of him, then they will reap the benefits of an athletically gifted player who may not have had that college production that you talk about. So those are a couple of the other pre-draft visits. Michael Williams out of Georgia, Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas. Emeka Ibuka has not made a 30 visit, but he has had a pre-draft visit with them. Luther Burden. Also, Josh Connerly, the Oregon tackle, Cameron Williams, the Texas tackle. You can go on down the list. There are several other pre-draft visits that they've had. They also, Brian Callahan was telling us at the owners' meetings last week, at the early part of last week, I guess a week ago from today, as a matter of fact, when we were in Palm Beach, said that they still had some Zoom hours at their disposal to be able to use in these pre-draft visits because, of course, the 30 visits are in person, but some of the pre-draft visits can be conducted virtually as well. So what are the Titans telling us with their 30 visits specifically? Not the pre-draft, not all of the pre-draft visits that they have had, but the 30 visits specifically, because we know the top players and the top prospects for the team that has the number 1 overall pick. There's some interesting players in the mix there that would make you stop and just kind of stare and consider their strategy potentially, which I think that we might be able to determine. We will get into this together. Let's see some of your comments here. DeZito, Buck Nasty, like it or love it. We need a wide receiver. We can get a plug and play at defensive end and just hope he surprises us. So, I'm not nearly as high, and nobody is. So this is not a controversial opinion or a different opinion from anything else that anybody who's watched even a second of these college players would tell you, even at the top of the list. And, I don't pretend to do deep dives in the draft analysis, but I have Cosell and I keep tabs on these things, obviously. And I watch college football to make sure that I'm at least aware of a lot of these guys coming into the pre-draft process. So I'm not just playing catch up for the entire month of February after the NFL season ends. But I will tell you that the wide receiver depth is clearly and obviously not what the edge player depth is, and that you have to take these things into consideration. It also does not mean that the depth at edge will last as long as you want it to, depending on when the positional runs in the draft start. Now, something that I would also remind you, in fact, relative to the 30 visits, and we can get into this specifically here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by True Man Fitness in the Gulch. Go to truemanfitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated at truemanfitness.com. What I will tell you is there is subterfuge with the 30 visits. Just because a player is making a 30 visit does not mean that the Titans are necessarily interested in drafting him, because Nolan Sanders asks earlier before we got the show up and running tonight. He says, are we just not interested in either Luther Burden or Emeka Ibuka? Because they have had pre-draft visits with the Titans, but they have not had an on-campus at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park visit. No, it does not mean that at all. Now, would you be more interested in one than the other? Yes, that's a question that your coaching staff or your front office could probably only answer at this point in time. They're trying to keep their cards as close to the vest as humanly possible, even with the Cam Ward thing, saying that they're open, that they're still open for business. But don't look at a 30 visit as a guarantee that the Titans are interested in, and vice versa. Don't think that the Titans are out on a player just because they did not make that 30 visit specifically. Hold up, Buck. How did we not get compensatory picks? We lost Derrick Henry. We should have gotten something. Yeah, but you signed Tony Pollard, so that offset the Derrick Henry compensatory pick situation. The Titans have really been really bad as far as the compensatory pick situation, because they keep going out in free agency and offsetting what they might gain back in compensatory picks with the free agents that they lose. So yeah, they don't play the compensatory pick game well, and perhaps Mike Borgonzi will change that vibe. But when you sign a player of an equal value to the player that you let walk, i.e. Tony Pollard got a very similar contract to Derrick Henry at that point in time, it offsets you then take yourself out of the compensatory pick formula. So, not something to fret over, though it is something that you want to improve on. And that only improves once you start to get to a place where you're drafting better as a football team at this point in time, as a front office at this point in time, because it keeps you from having to go out and spend a lot of money on the free agent market that would offset the compensatory formula. So all these things to say, what are the Titans telling us about their 30 visits right now? So again, some of the players that you are talking about in this mix outside of the top of the list, right? Donovan Jackson, consensus has him somewhere in the mid to low 30s as a prospect. Caleb Johnson, somewhere in the mid to low 50s, the running back out of Iowa. Isaiah Bond, somewhere in the mid to low 60s, depending on where you look. What does that tell you about the Titans' strategy? You get further down the list, Kyle Williams, who's probably outside of the top 100 as an overall prospect. Whether he ends up being a top 100 selection or not remains to be seen. What does that tell you about the Titans' strategy? Well, to me, it at least signals that for all the time that we've spent wringing our hands on will they trade the number one overall pick or not, that's fine. Many of you have thought about the idea of, well, why don't they just trade back out of 35 overall at this point in time? Because they have 2 fourths, but they have no third. And they would like to have a third round pick at this point in time to continue to keep themselves spread as much as humanly possible across the talent that is left in this particular draft. So instead of just picking at 35, would they not consider moving out of 35? Because that is essentially a low first round pick when you're picking at the top of the second round that way. So I think it is an indication that they're at least open for business in that direction. Whether or not a trade out of the second round pick comes to fruition remains to be seen. Could you potentially just stick and pick and take the best available player? Yes, of course you could. But you have to give yourself wiggle room. You can't just fall in love with one player and it's that player or bust, unless you're talking about the number one overall pick, that it is Cam Ward or bust at this point in time. For a team like the Titans in a specific situation, having no answer at quarterback right now, like the Titans currently do not. So as you go through all of these things, to me, it's an indication that they are very much open for business in the second round, even if the first round pick is currently off the table.
Williams. So the one guy that I have in the top 10 that you don't have is Emeka Ibuka. I had Ibuka at 5. The one guy that you have in your top 10 that I don't is this guy, Kyle Williams from Washington State, who is on the ascent, Sam. Is he going to be high? If we did this 3 weeks from now, would he be even higher on your list? Kyle Williams, Washington State.
Yeah, I mean, again, I kind of wanted to push him higher in my top 10, but couldn't figure out which guy to drop him or drop for that to happen. We had Mike Renner on the show a couple of shows ago. He has Kyle Williams extremely high. Chris Sims since dropped his wide receiver rankings. He had him at wide receiver 2. And I'm not going to call it crazy because of last time where we thought he was crazy to have Brian Thomas ranked ahead of Marvin Harrison, and that looked pretty good now. But like Kyle Williams he's the best separator, I think, in this class. I would say that's the one, line summation of what he brings to the table. Instant separation, instant quickness, and in all ways, right? The routes at the break, the releases, they're all sick. Watch him at the Senior Bowl. He's operating at like a different speed to anybody trying to cover him. Like every step he makes, it's literally like a completely different speed to these guys. I thought he's got a vertical threat to him as well. He's not just you would comp him to somebody like Tez Johnson from Oregon, who's got that similar quickness, instant, looks like he's operating at a different pace to these other guys. But I think he's got a much more clean vertical profile to his game as well. He ran like a pretty fast 40. I don't have it to hand.
4.4. I think he was 4.4, 4.41.
So it's like, again, it's in the
4.4.
Matthew Golden true range, I think, which is fast enough to run a vertical route, not fast enough to like terrify everybody. Tracks the ball well, doesn't fight it. He's very good after the catch, not as shifty as Burden, but so direct and quick and fast, like can avoid a lot of tackles. The thing that kind of kept me from putting him much higher than that is, 5'11", 190, and you can see that relative lack of size on his tape quite a bit. Like he does get bodied a bit, both at the catch point. If there's a decent sized DB against him at the catch point, he's going to struggle a bit. And and during the route. So like the separation he gets is important, because if he doesn't get it, it's like an anchor dragging him down. It's like he goes through quicksand on those plays.
Can't hear you.
Thank you. I muted myself because I turned the national championship game on. Anyway, that's courtesy of the 33rd team, and no prospect is perfect. We understand this, right? So anytime, really, once you get out of the, how many blue chip players are there in this draft? 3, maybe 4. Once you get outside of the blue chip players, you're talking about prospects that have flaws and how you're going to have to adapt to those flaws, to work through it at this point in time. All the different things that you have at your disposal would at least give you the opportunity, though, if you're the Tennessee Titans, to consider, all right, this makes a lot of sense for us at 35. What also makes sense for us based on what might be available is moving out of that 35th overall pick, trying to drum up interest in that 35th overall pick to get a 3rd round pick out of it, to recoup some of that lost value from L'Jarius Sneed and Will Levis that you've been chasing, where 2 deals went down and they haven't paid off the dividends yet. Will Levis doesn't look like it will. L'Jarius Sneed still might at this point in time, but it does tell me that the Titans are at least willing to consider a trade back option. Now, for the purposes of brevity, maybe we save the new voice of the Titans thing for later, and we get to Bert right off the top, because Houston and Florida have tipped off, and I don't want to keep you guys from watching the national championship game. Right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Zen Sports. It is too late to get your bets in on this natty, but it is not too late for you to bet on the NBA, the NHL, MLB, and football, not in the too distant future. ZenSports.com, promo code ATOZTN gets you in on all the action. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789, must be 21 plus. And in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports, also presented by Bart Durham Injury Law. You deserve to be paid, and nobody will put you in better position to succeed, just as they have for Tennesseans and Kentuckians for over 75 years, like BartDurham.com. Whether it is a personal injury that you have sustained, an automobile accident that you have been a part of, if you feel like you are deserved or that you deserve compensation, BartDurham.com is there to work with you through the process. Get a free consultation online at BartDurham.com. All right, Bert, what do you got?
You know, it really pisses me off when all these billionaire owners, they want us to come to their games. They want us to pay these high prices. They want us to help them build their stadiums. They want us to pay exorbitant costs at the concession stand. But one thing they should let us do in open air stadiums, I'm not about smoking out babies, but in open air stadiums, we should be allowed to smoke. If your team is shitty, even if your team is good, it's stressful. You want me to take myself out of this game mentally, but also be here for your chance and to holler on third down? Then let me smoke a daggum cigarette. Let me puff on my girlfriend's vape. God, even give me a disposable cart. I'm a man. I'm a grown-ass man. I could serve this country. I could go buy a beer at an establishment. I can vote, but I can't enjoy a succulent cigarette at an NFL game. This is democracy manifest. When you look at A&E's new series, Stadium Lockup, I saw this video today, and the fact that we're pouring this many resources into catching people smoking, it pissed me the hell off.
Smoking in section 129, row 9,
Narcs.
seat 9. And we need an ejection.
And code of conduct. You're not allowed to drink it or smoke in the stadium. You're a child.
That allied escorting out someone for vaping inside the stadium. I was just there for the assist to help make sure nothing escalated.
They're smoking. What's going to escalate?
There's a no tolerance policy. If you get caught smoking or vaping, you're automatically ejected out.
No tolerance. I don't even get a freedom puff.
Is this at Nissan?
Omar, we had.
I believe this was at the Browns Stadium in Cleveland.
Who's the Apex officer?
He said that they're trying to get.
Look at all these people! Look at all these people looking for people smoking! I'm gonna play the beginning of this over again.
Allied, they're refusing to leave the stadium. Which was
yeah, hell yeah! They paid 555 tickets to.
So with that,
for smoking, tell them they need to go. I need you to fix this ASAP.
This dude's a big weenie, by the way. I need you to fix this ASAP. They weren't up there sacrificing goats, doing a damn dance to make sure their team won. He took a puff. It's a puff. You know, we used to let people smoke in restaurants. You know, you used to be able to smoke in libraries and airports.
Section.
What are we doing? Y'all are so hot about, and listen to the beginning of this clip just one more time. She is on, she has a camera of people panning, and she's like, listen to where she says.
Smoking in section 129, row 9, seat 9.
Shut the hell up! Shut up! If that's in Cleveland, you want me to watch this shitty team?
Really?
Let me smoke a cigarette! By God! What are we doing?
People are very much against your position on this in the chat. People are saying, no thanks, don't want to smell your downdraft. Jaron says smoking is absolutely annoying.
Oh, Jaron.
I agree with you on this one. Stevie simply says, pass that Dutch. I don't think that's what we're doing.
Ocho says drugs are bad, okay? A succulent Chinese meal?
I'm glad somebody picked up on that reference.
I don't want your funky cigarette smoke blown in my face. Do y'all go to bars? Do y'all tailgate?
So much weirder things and are around so much more problematic stuff. Bert, I'm telling you, other than Indiana basketball, I don't go to live sporting events as a fan anymore because fans around me piss me off for a variety of different reasons. But like, of all the things that are offensive to me about what fans do in the stands at games, whether it's cheering or jeering or fighting or spilling drinks or whatever, like smoking is so low on that list to me. Now, that's because I'm a smoker. You're a smoker, so we can agree on this particular situation. But I don't know. The level of narcdom that is being perpetrated by the Cleveland Browns and anybody else who is ejecting people for vaping in an NFL stadium is stupid. It's a waste of resources. Do something better with the time.
It makes no sense to me. I mean, people smoke at tailgates. People puff those big cigars. And by the way, cigar smoke smells 800 times worse than a fucking cigarette. Oh, God. There's mine.
All right, you're done.
There's mine. All right, good night.
Get out of here. It's time to watch the national championship game. Disappear into a puff of smoke.
Oh, I can do that. I'll talk to you.
All right, that's Robert Walsh, in case you missed it, until he took it a bridge too far with his passion for smoking in stadiums. That's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate you guys hanging out. It's currently 8-all with just over 15 minutes to play in the national championship game. We'll be talking about it tomorrow morning from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. We'll also talk about your new play-by-play guy. The replacement for Mike Keith has officially been named. We were going to get to it tonight, but we ran out of time. See you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone. And make sure you get your install tickets today. Which defensive player stands to benefit most from the coaching change? Poipel Neupel. Bert, I know you're laughing as hard at that as I am. I could not.